So we got, that's a Lincoln Memorial behind, which I don't know if you can see. It's absolutely enormous. So we're going to start the live thing in a minute. I've got here, and my kit doesn't work, which is great. Okay. Let me just make sure. Okay. Yeah, my speaker doesn't work. That's good, isn't it? In a place where it probably would work really well. I know. Okay. Just gonna make. Could one of you lovely people tell me if I'm perfectly in shot? Can you just have a look? So I want to make sure that. Is it about there?
Yes, you are excellent.
Yeah? Good. Okay. What's the time? I'm starting a bit early, everybody.
You have been doing quite the tour of these United States. Oh my gosh, it has been.
There are 2 documentary film crews here today. There's another person doing it for her own channel. This is the channel to watch it, FYI. And the reason we like you to watch it here is because it affects the algorithms, and obviously this is the biggest channel. So the more people that we can have views on this channel, it really does help this channel get promoted, because I keep getting shadow banned by YouTube. So I'm just going to mill around for a little bit longer until it's time. Do you have the time, please?
101.
It's 101, okay. Right, I'll call these lovely women over. Do you want to come over in the blistering heat?
It's not that bad. I've been here in 104 and like 40 below.
Yeah, but were you wearing polyester and a jacket? No, I don't think you were. What sacrifice did you make for the cause?
That side, this
Thank
side.
you. Wherever you want to be, you can be that side listening, or you can be this side
We
standing.
have to correct our talks that way.
Okay, so because that's there, well, it depends whether people want to hear the speeches, because we're not going to have a microphone. So sometimes people stand behind, but then you can't hear the speeches.
I see.
And I will pan, so we know how many people are here. So it might be better to talk, so people are talking. So when you're talking, you're not talking to no one.
Got it.
Yeah?
Perfect.
Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, why didn't you?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm lovely. How are you?
I'm good. You remember me?
I do remember you.
No.
Yes, I
Really?
do. Yeah, of course I remember
From
you.
Brighton?
Yes.
Yeah. It's good to see you again. I came down from Toronto again.
Oh yeah, that's
So amazing. So amazing. Okay, good afternoon. We are going to stand here in Washington, D.C. So do you want me to do that? So thank you to Kara, is that right? Kara, as we say. Kara Dansky for on the ground organising. We are here to let women speak, which is basically to break the silence created by trans activism. And I've met some very interesting, right across the political spectrum, predominantly women who are taking great risks, going to their school boards, talking in public about this particular issue. So I'm going to say some of the things that in the United States of America could lose you your job. Right, 1, women don't have penises. 2, transitioning children is abuse. 3,
When trans rights are under attack, what do we do?
So we've got some trans activists now.
What do we do?
They bonkers. So you've got confused children like this. Actually, should we go around in a circle before they get too close? Because we don't want them near us. That's it. Just so they don't come too close. Oh, thank you very much.
Trans rights are human rights.
You just stand right there. That'll be lovely. Thank you. Okay, so that's quite good. They're exercising their free speech, which is fine by us. we're just going to have to make sure that we speak nice and clearly in our microphones because that's not working. So stop abusing kids! Stop abusing kids! So, okay, I'm not going to try and let them set this agenda. We will see. I love this.
Trans women.
There's no such thing!
Protect trans women! Protect trans men!
They're winning! Trans men are winning! They're winning! Right, anyway, okay. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more fun. Right, here's the rule here. What we have to speak this way. Have they got a permit?
I don't know, but I don't think the park people care.
They won't bother.
They won't bother them? Okay, so we had to get a permit. I'm assuming they won't. What? Surgery butchers kids! Okay, right, so I'm going to try and drown that out. It's really, really difficult and I do get distracted, so I'm going to try my level best because this is about letting women speak. So, which one of you amazing women would like to speak first? Okay, Will, if you want to come and speak here, I'm just going to make sure you're in shot. You're in shot.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Thank you. I call myself George Sand. It's a pseudonym. Remember when women could take male names as a pseudonym? What brought me here today was rage, but I'm going to speak calmly because I know that's more pleasant to listen to. The lie that a girl or a boy, a man or a woman, can change his or her developmental destiny is the great lie of our age. Along with this lie, there is a contradiction. On the one hand, women appear to be less limited than they have ever been. We can be doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and politicians. On the other, our natural existence is being erased from language, from law, and from history. What can account for this contradiction, this simultaneous prosperity and erasure? How can a woman be nominated to the Supreme Court and yet have to provide, as the price of admission, sworn testimony that she cannot define what a woman is, when we all know what a woman is? Read my shirt. A woman is an adult human female. This contradiction comes from the complete capture of modern feminism by the market. The feminism of my childhood, epitomized by a canvas bag that cheerily announced, anything a boy can do, a girl can do better, was a recognition of the victory of second-wave feminists. Women who had been raised being told the opposite, told they weren't smart enough or couldn't work hard enough or shouldn't take the places of men, could now tell their daughters that the sky was the limit. But this mantra of resistance from our foremothers was never meant to be taken literally. They knew that women and men were not and never would be equivalent, and they did not expect nor desire to cease to be women and mothers when they became doctors or lawyers or professors or politicians. Second-wave feminism was not a rejection of men, but rather an expansion of the possibilities for women, and for many it has been liberating. But there is, we see now, a darker side to the fight for so-called equality. Equality implies that women and men can be made equivalent, which is false in the natural world, but perfectly promotable in the market. Without a culture that acknowledges, honors, and incorporates the fundamental asymmetry between women and men, the market can and will sell the notion that a man can simply become a woman. For what does the market know or care about what it is to be a woman? The market rejects all culture that limits its possibilities. It prefers customers who are blank slates, ready to be sold first the categories and then anything that suits the category selected. A man who feels like a woman, who wants to wear makeup and a dress, he is just another marketing opportunity, another lie to make a buck off. In the market is therefore only to be expected that men can be women, and better, as in more profitable women. Look at Dylan Mulvaney. He's gotten more money and recognition in his mere months of buying and selling, quote, girlhood, than most women who actually experience such a thing do in their entire lives. He may be a troll, but the market has been trolling women forever. This is just the newest, latest effort to profit at our expense, to take our existence and sell it as a product. I feel lucky to have grown up during a time when the marketing machine was not yet powerful enough to convince me that a woman was what you saw on a magazine cover. I had an in-person childhood among many girls and women. I could easily recognize the gap between real and fake, the image and the flesh. In this last generation, that gap has been erased. There is no longer a difference, so the market tells you, between what you think or feel and who you are, and then who you are and what you deserve. Any feeling can be defined as your reality and then be used to justify any demand. Desires become needs. Fantasies become surgeries and wrong sex hormones given upon asking, and even covered by insurance, which basically means we pay, because we pay the insurance companies. And so the mantras we thought expressed our autonomy, our self-determination, now they are revealed to be mere marketing slogans. Take my body, my choice. This pro-choice axiom, and I am pro-choice, is now the most macabre of transhuman nightmares. Not enjoying puberty? Do you not consent? Just buy something different. Care no matter what, Planned Parenthood says. Indeed, even when it's permanent self-harm marketed as personal liberation. The only way for women to experience liberation is to rebuild a culture where the natural, unalienable asymmetry between men and women is recognized, honored, and perpetuated. A culture in which women, not the state, not our doctors, not our children's teachers, not our bosses, not big pharma, not big tech, and certainly not Planned Penishood, directly control what is ours. Our own bodies and the upbringing of the children who directly depend on our bodies, our wisdom, and our care. It is our own hands that must hold the tools. This is not a liberal or conservative culture. Both of those sides are funded by and work for the market. Both sides reduce women rather than affirm the autonomy their natural differences grant them. The last president thought a woman was just a pussy. That's where he grabs them. The current president thinks a woman is a feeling. That's why he invites a man named Dylan to the White House. Successful cultures honor the unassimilable difference between men and women. Destructive cultures deny them. And so our rage must turn to resistance. We must resist this regressive, misogynist, homophobic movement promoting the erasure of women and lesbians especially. The law is not enough. We must build a grassroots sisterhood that keeps in our hands what is rightfully ours. The bastards are trying to grind us down by insisting that men be allowed everywhere. They are forcing us to question every public encounter. Is that a man? Am I safe? Should I say something? The answer is, say something. The only weapon they have is our silence! If we speak, they lose. Even the men pretending to be women know who the women are. That's why they don't want a third space of their own, because it would only be full of men. And the thrill they seek comes only from the compliance of women. Be kind, they say. Translation, submit to my desires. I am George Sand, and I will never submit. My dissent is on the record. I could never have done this without the inspiration of many other women who have done this both live and on the internet. Thank you, Excelenzic. Thank you, Eliza Mondegreen. Thank you, Known Heretic. And most of all, thank you, Kellie-Jay Keen. I am honored to stand beside you today and these other women. You leave me in awe. So finally, to the women yet to speak up, find your voice. It is the only way we can win, and we must win.
Well done.
Thank you.
You managed to drown out the toddlers. Okay, just to let you know that the people behind are basically girls and grown men who those men don't think they're women. I think they like the butchering of kids. I have no idea why they're there. But especially him. There's a groomer there with Protect Trans Youth, which basically means he wants kids to be butchered. So that's nice. Okay, who would like to talk next? You have to really focus so you can just drown them out in your head. It can be heard online. Do you want to speak? Sorry, if you hold that that on your paper. That's if it's difficult, don't worry too much. This
Okay.
is my microphone.
Okay, but you can hear me if I'm talking into this. You can. Okay. So try to block them out and say what I want to say. I was pretty naive about what was happening when I first heard about transgenderism and gender dysphoria. I thought it was a fringe thing. People were just working with their therapists and doctors, not really any of my business, nothing to worry about. But I've learned that this really is an attack on truth, an attack on women, an attack on children, an attack on people with mental health issues, and it's evil. I can't even address that right now. I work in mental health, and I know that we disassociate from our bodies, we objectify ourselves, we commodify ourselves, and we cut off for lots of different reasons. Sometimes it's a response to trauma, sometimes it's just how we're raised, there's lots of different reasons. And a good doctor and a good therapist would say, you're fine how you are, your body is fine. But gender affirming care is preying on vulnerable people with mental health problems and confused children. Instead of saying your body is fine, they're saying, okay, we'll cut off your breasts and you can be a boy, or we'll castrate you so that you can be a girl. Dr. Daniel Metzger of WPATH said, I know that I am talking to a blank wall when I am talking to 14-year-olds about the side effects of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. I am talking to a blank wall. This is a WPATH endocrinologist. This is not informed consent. This is medical abuse. And again, this is an attack on women. We are telling women and girls to ignore our boundaries, ignore our instincts, ignore what's in front of our eyes, and to be kind. Well, kindness is just a mask for our fear. It's their way of telling us to just shut up and listen and don't question and do what you're told. Be kind is what they tell us, but it's a lie. Women are being raped in prisons right now. Women are being frightened to use their own single-sex spaces. We're telling high school girls that they have to ignore, again, their boundaries, and it's wrong. It's criminal. And that's why we're here today. And I'm here personally because I'm a mother. I have a sister with children. I have nieces and nephews. I have a grandmother. I have a mother-in-law and aunts and many women that I care about, many children that I care about. So even though these people are loud, we're still going to be here and be heard because we care about women and children and truth. Thank you. I don't know what to do now. All they have is noise and intimidation, but we have the truth. We are speaking truth here, and it terrifies them.
If you want to give the mic to someone else who wants to speak.
Does anybody else want to speak? Here comes Kellie-Jay.
Thank you very much. I just thought I'd do a bit of a... They're just demented, not wanting women to talk at all. So they really do need to be told. Who would like to speak? You? At home, they can hear you really well because these microphones are good. You don't need to shout too much to let it be heard.
I can't hear myself think.
And you just try and just...
Enunciate.
Yeah, they can hear you, whatever, like they can hear me perfectly well just talking to you like this. So if you can just try and just get rid of them in your head, they'll be able to hear
The
you.
earplugs
Thank
help.
you so much. Yeah.
So I'm here because I, for a long time, identified as a trans man, but it turns out the ultimate issue that I faced was not that my body was wrong, not that my, how I was in the world was a problem. The problem was that our society is so incredibly sexist that trying to be a woman or a girl in this world is painful and just incredibly painful. And so I could have really messed up my health because I have other health problems. I could have really messed up my body and not been able to live as the full, happy adult human female that I am if I had actually pursued transition as an unhappy teenager in a sexist world. So when people say protect trans youth, what I really hear is don't protect the youth that I was, who would have been, mutilated and chemically castrated on the altar of not being a woman in this society. Being adult human female is hard, but it's the only way you can be a woman, and it's the only way I will ever be as an adult. So that's why I'm out here today, and hopefully the group behind me will enjoy themselves.
Thank you very much. I did hear you. That was good. Do you want to speak? It can be heard. Okay. You don't have if I'll just do that.
Okay. And just this one?
Well, this one's mine. Otherwise, you can hold one.
Okay.
If you want to,
Either way.
put it in your.
Oh, I can hold it, I guess. Sure. Thank you. Hi, I am a medical doctor, and I won't use my name here, but I'm sure if you already know me, you'll recognize me. I'm no public speaker, but this issue is just too fundamental and important to me, so I've typed it up to give myself a bit of a fear cushion. This is a public record of my dissent. I wanted to say something to millennial women.
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay. I want to say something to millennial women like myself who were or are on the left, if that happens to still have meaning for you, as well as to fellow millennial doctors and maybe Gen Z students in medical school. I know this seems like a righteous cause. Some of you, despite your intelligence, are not lying. For some it is a lie, but for some, like myself, you are on the left. You've always supported gay rights, abortion access, against mass incarceration, and at a surface level, this movement seems like a natural outgrow of that. You want to do the right thing and be a good person. I desperately did. And if you're in medical school, like I was in 2012 to 2016, and want to believe that this is right, you read all of the pro-trans resources, and you bought them for some time, you even argued for them, like I even wrote an article for a friend's publication about how sex is a spectrum in 2015. I remember writing that article, and despite spending something like 15 hours researching for a 500-word essay, realizing that this was the longest I had spent researching any article, I felt like my argument wasn't really convincing, that there were holes in it. I was frustrated, but chalked it up to my perfectionism, that there was something off that I can only clearly articulate today. One of those most common arguments that I attempted to employ myself when looking at this issue from a superficial level, that sex is a spectrum because there are intersex individuals, was flawed, and I didn't want to confront it. Klinefelter syndrome, for example, is a genetic condition when a male has an extra X chromosome. If you Google Klinefelter syndrome, just those two words, it'll say that exact same thing by any medical resource on the first page. Same with Turner syndrome for females or any number of genetic alterations. A male or female born with chromosomal abnormalities does not prove the sex binary doesn't exist. In fact, it is the exception that proves the rule, because there would be nothing to deviate from if the binary didn't exist. In
It might sound crazy that I was able to buy gender ideology as someone who had studied this biology, but I want to stress how the psychology in social pressures like these work. You desperately want to believe something is true. You want to be a good person, so you justify it to yourself and suppress questioning it further. I say this to say, for some of you that may not be fully entrenched in the ideology, but are afraid to question, I understand where you're coming from. I was there too. I've read all the pro-gender ideology resources I could because I wanted to believe. And that's why protesters like this, desperately try to shut us up. They don't want you to hear the other side because you might see the flaws in their logic. There is no other cause they deem to be on the right, which specifically gets not just protests, but attempts to silence. It must be because they know if we read one side and the other, we know which makes more sense. It wasn't until I encountered radical feminism that some light broke through. I watched Megan Murphy speaking in real time and then read an essay by Rebecca Cooper-Riley. Suddenly, I found myself face to face with contradictions I couldn't deny. But I also felt scared to talk about this to anyone, as we all know from the bullying tactics that are used to suppress even any questions. So let me give you a quick biology lesson then. There are two sexes, male and female. Our biology is essential to the practice of medicine. The workup in the ER for abdominal pain is completely different for, is completely different for men than for women because different organs are there. The reason to suspect a heart attack in men versus women is different because women present with different symptomology from men. The endocrine system, which releases hormones, has different effects throughout the body that are different in males than in females. It is important to know who is male and who is female, which is why the push to erase sex is very dangerous to medical care. Even in my field, pathology, it would be impossible to diagnose a malignant tumor of unknown etiology if I am not able to know if the individual is female and therefore has a uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes, a cervix, vagina, breasts, therefore excluding hundreds of subtypes of cancers originating from these organs. On another topic, the lack of medical research to back this up is appalling, and doctors who question this, like Julia Mason, are silenced, but many of us know the truth, are too busy in our respective unrelated fields to research this, or like I said, are younger people in the profession socially conditioned to not question it like I was at first. But as I looked at into this further, the capturing of the institution and the lack of evidence to back this up becomes more clear the more you look at it. The transgender and pro-child transition surgeon, Dr. Marcy Bowers, said, and I quote from the horse's mouth, "Every single child who was blocked at Tanner stage 2 has never experienced orgasm. How long can we ignore the first decree in our Hippocratic oath, first do no harm? How much money is it worth? Doctors, is it worth your degree and integrity? Is it worth children's bodies and women's safety in healthcare? The lawsuits are coming and they're not going to be pretty. The least you can do is research the other side. Make sure you understand what you're opposing. If it's truly wrong, no harm done. What are you afraid of? All I can say is I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I'm going to stand on the right side of history, and I hope you will too."
I'm going to let you see what they're doing. There's a man on one of the megaphones dressed as a woman. So, like, he's pretending to be a woman. There's like trans liberation. Let me show you. No. So we have to get a permit for today. I'm talking about the First Amendment rights. We have to get a permit today. Yet they have a First Amendment right to free speech, but they're not supposed to disrupt, and they're basically disrupting because that intention that I know of. Would you like to speak? This is Amy's microphone, that's mine.
Hi, everyone. It's a beautiful day in Washington, D.C., notwithstanding the lunatics that are surrounding us and trying to shut down women's speech. It's great to be here. I just want to say a few things. I know a lot of women want to speak. Probably, between the 3 points that I want to make here, I will manage to piss off just about everyone. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay to disagree with each other. The movement to protect the sex-based rights of women and girls is a big tent, and there's room for a lot of us, even if we have points of disagreement. We can do this. 1. A woman is an adult human female, and those of us who are committed to fighting for the sex-based rights of women and girls will never, ever stop saying that. They can do whatever they like to us. They can attack us, arrest us, and lock us. Those of us in this fight will never stop saying what we know to be true. So-called gender identity is a lie that has no basis in material reality. I'm very happy to report that last week, a panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit entered an extremely important ruling in the case of Green v. Miss U.S.A. In that ruling, the Ninth Circuit found that a beauty pageant that was open exclusively to natural-born females has a First Amendment free speech right to exclude men. And the panel did not hold back in its language, which, I might add, is very chirpy. One of the things that is so great about this is that one of the opinions cited a friend of the court brief that had been filed by the Women's Liberation Front. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that a radical feminist brief has been cited in a court opinion on the topic of so-called gender identity. This is a massive victory for women and girls, and we need to celebrate it. I want to pause here to note that the U.S. Park Police is here and are doing nothing to stop this. 2. Most people know that I'm a leftist radical feminist, also known as a TERF, and that I have in the past made strategic alliances with some conservative individuals and organizations that are tapped into the U.S. political scene and who know how to get things done. I have no regrets about any of that. It's effective political advocacy, and men do it all the time. I am also happy to know plenty of rank-and-file Republicans, probably many of the people here today, who are committed to defeating so-called gender identity. I should note quickly that the conservative individuals and organizations that I have worked with generally do a good job of acknowledging the contributions of radical feminists to this movement, unlike certain other conservative individuals and organizations who I won't name. Having said all of that, there are certain elements of society with whom I want nothing to do at all. If anyone here is a neo-Nazi, I do not want them in this fight. If anyone here is a member of the Proud Boys, I do not want them in this fight. I could list more, but you all get the point. Finally, I know that Kellie-Jay does not wish to impose any conditions on the women or men who attend her events, and that is totally her right to do. Speaking solely for myself, I am committed to the principles and practices of nonviolent direct action, and I am so for a reason. I understand that women all over the world are subjected to horrific violence at the hands of men, and that we have a completely understandable urge to fight back physically. I get it. I just want to emphasize that in my view, the reason to engage in nonviolent direct action is not to be nice, and it is not to be morally right. The reason is to be effective. There are things that are more important than physical safety, and one of them is winning. And we will win together. Thank you. Who wants to talk? I'm just skipping into it.
Where am I looking? There or there? Doesn't matter. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna be short anyway. That's all right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sex is an identify your way out of sexism. You can't fight for women's rights if you can't say what a woman is. Let women speak. Again, let women speak. Okay, I don't know where Kellie-Jay is, so I'll just go on and on until she gets back. Okay, so as people may know, my name is Kara Dansky. I am the author of the 2021 book, The Abolition of Sex, How the So-Called Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls. I'm also the current president of the U.S. chapter of Women's Declaration International, which works to advance the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights throughout law, all over the world, at all levels of government. You can find it, you can read it. If you agree with it, you can sign it at www.womensdeclaration.com. Article 1 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights holds that women is an exclusively female category. Article 2 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights insists that mother remain an exclusively female category throughout law. Article 3 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights provides that women must have unlimited access to reproductive integrity. Article 4 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights holds that women must be free to their expression and opinion. Article 5 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights states that women must be free to assemble. Article 6 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights addresses the importance of women in political participation. Article 7 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights holds that women's sports must be reserved for women only. Article 8 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights demands an end to male violence against women. Article 9 of the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights protects the rights of the child against the harms caused to children's bodies by hormones and surgeries that mutilate and sterilize them. Who else wants to talk?
Creating it close to your voice as possible. First, I want to say thank you to all the women and the organizers here that were convicted enough to butcher young children and get their breasts removed at age 13. I'm talking to my audience. That's fine. Oh, you can hear that. You can hear that. These two are groomers. A couple of mental groomers. Look, he's brought his Jenga. Did you bring your Jenga? Did you bring your Jenga brick? And then this girl is just proper communication. I'm going to look at this page back. Abortion access. Right here, officer, that's one of them. That's one of them. Absolutely ridiculous. 2022. I don't know whose that is. I don't know who it belongs to.
Another empty vessel. Big hero, beating up on women. Very good.
This guy is, I mean, he likes butchering kids, so I assume he's brought those bricks to encourage some children to go home with him. Just extraordinary. That singing, if you can still hear it, is it's just nuts. Can you imagine coming to a place where women are trying to speak about their rights and banging at 2 lumps of wood? I mean, I would imagine that's as close to wood as he ever gets.
It's the closest to wood, perhaps.
Closest to wood as he ever gets. He's bought some children's blocks because he's hoping to, like the Pied Piper, to take some vulnerable kids' homes with him. Yeah.
Oh, they turned it off. So let's speak. You got your time now. They stopped it. So let's go. Next, you'll be wearing humongous tits. Let's go.
I mean, it's funny, but it's also so disturbing.
I know.
That she's in that state of kind of
Mental illness.
whatever,
Well, she is.
where she can't,
Oh, she's trying to show that she can.
or she's virtue signaling to these groomers that she's willing to do anything.
Rights are being eroded everywhere. That's like this. We're here.
Yeah.
Let women speak is why we are here, to let women speak about abortion.
He literally has got 2 blocks of wood in his hand.
About the Equal Rights Amendment, which was passed. The Equal Rights Amendment was passed 2 years ago.
Look.
And they haven't come through.
You're a groomer. You're a groomer. I'm not talking to you. Okay, so now that we can speak, perhaps we should resume. Okay, all right. Okay, let's resume.
We might get something. We might.
So, you know, it's a good day because we've got 2 documentary film crews here today. We've got the lovely one with me. We've got some media. Obviously, we haven't got any left-wing media, so that'll be something to moan about women at home. Because the left-wing media don't care about you. That's why they haven't come. The right-wing media have come because, contrary to popular belief, they actually don't want to butcher kids. And they actually do know what a woman is. So are they being made to go? I'm going to take these up. There's this woman who's been really loud. She's now just got a little whistle. So she's gone from shouting trans rights and human rights to woo! Woo! Anyway, we can now. Oh, let me just. Oh, the freedom of my ears being able to hear. So, we've come here to let women speak. Let women speak. to say, oh God, can you hear that whistle? We have come here to say women don't have penises, men don't have vaginas, transitioning children is abuse. Old block feature man over there is a child abuser. He quite likes the idea of small children, girls having their breasts removed. We are not going to be silent. They can come time and time again. They can scream in our faces. They can put sirens in our ears. But we will be heard. Right. Yes. Hello again. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Great. Let's have your lovely voice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hold up like this.
Yeah, that's my microphone, so you might not be heard by all and sundry, but you will be
Okay.
heard by the live stream.
Okay. Last year, I had been a gym rat for 14 years, and before that, I was an athlete. My first experience with transgender ideology and its dangers happened last year at a gym. One day after finishing my workout and using the sauna, I undressed to shower. I heard a man's voice and instinctively froze in panic. It was the first time I had ever been frozen with that kind of debilitating fear. I didn't understand this reaction at the time because all I wanted to do was run away, but my body wouldn't let me. Coupled with confusion, the fear was further compounded by the loss of control over my own body and its inability to move. It was identical to what Kellie-Jay Keen once explained in one of her live streams when she talked about her own experience in the bathroom with a man. According to her experience, what I was feeling was a natural response to danger and that my body was doing what it instinctively needed to do to protect itself. My heart was pounding and my breathing arrested. My mind raced with rapid thoughts trying to think of every plausible scenario that would make this man go away or make him not a man. It was all in vain. I was in a wide open space in a locker room with a small towel that didn't cover my entire body, and there was nothing nearby to take cover. I expected this man at any minute to discover that he was in the wrong place, apologize in shame, and leave, but that would not be the case. When I first saw him, he had his pants down and had been making his presence known through cursing, yelling, and grunting, further causing alarm and discomfort. The horror I felt was indescribable. I felt violated, humiliated, and powerless to get him out. After following me with his eyes and looking back in my state of undress, he left with his 9-year-old daughter who had been in there with him. I reported the man to gym management. Instead of upholding women-only spaces, they told me things that made me question my own instincts, my eyes, my ears, my feelings, and my reactions. Essentially, they made me question the truth. They tried for about an hour to convince me that this man was a woman and asked me to delete the review I had left, warning other women that this gym allowed men in the women's locker room. All of this was done so that the man could have me and other women around to play along with his perversion and to groom us into feeling comfortable undressing in front of him, something I'd never consent to. I canceled my membership and went to another gym where I was assured by management that they didn't allow the aforementioned scenario in the women's locker room. I was also told that if anyone made me feel uncomfortable, I was to report it to management and they'd take care of it. Well, it wasn't long before I found myself in the locker room with a rather large man who quietly sat in the corner behind me, smiling and complimenting me as I was bent over a sink. I felt anger at the audacity of a man quietly sitting in a corner doing absolutely nothing as women walked around nearly nude, not realizing he was there. I wasn't frozen with fear this time. Instead, I stormed out in rage. I reported him to management, expecting them to take care of it like they told me. When they finally discovered which man it was, they changed their tune. I was told that the man was a subset of a woman and was offered to take a time out with my gym membership or cancel. I promptly canceled my membership. Every attempt I've made since then to leave reviews warning women about this have been deleted or hidden from view, effectively robbing women of informed consent, which would put them in harm's way. The gym knows that once women are made aware that men can sit in the locker room and get a free, undisturbed peep show of them and underage girls, women are not going to put up with it. When we women see the locker room that corresponds to our sex and only our sex, it signals to us that there will be no men in the area and that we are free to undress, use the toilet, tend to our menstrual needs, among other things. It's beyond condemnable and atrocious to then tell men that they can go into these spaces without the knowledge or consent of women and girls. But let's be honest, why would they tell women that men are allowed to watch them undress in the locker room and risk losing their memberships? The few places that have been brave enough to kick the men out have been sued, and the men were allowed back into those spaces anyway. So how are these two situations that I experienced possible? Transgender ideology made them possible by their disambiguation of language and the meanings of words. Transgender ideology states that it is how a person feels or a person's declaration of how they feel that determines their gender identity, regardless of their birth, sex, or anatomy. This means that the definition of the word women loses all meaning and now includes men. By changing the definition of what it means to be a woman, this ideology by design effectively dissolves boundaries, consent, safeguarding, privacy, and dignity for women and girls. In essence, this means that all men are allowed in women's spaces as long as they make a declaration, wear a dress, change their driver's licenses. Additionally, they are to be assumed to be women and therefore not a threat simply because of their presence in a women-only space. That's all that's required to be a woman, according to this ideology. Despite the incidents of rape, sexual assault, peeping, upskirting, filming, and exhibition in these spaces, transgender ideology is only gaining momentum. Transgender ideology states that we women need to continue to allow men in our spaces to keep them from killing themselves. I guess that means they pinky swear not to kill themselves if they can see us undress or be around us when they whip it out. Fuck that. What does that sound like to you? Sounds like emotional blackmail of the highest quality. But it's also not our fucking problem. I refuse to undress in front of a man to keep him alive or to keep him from killing himself. But let's be clear, they don't really mean that. It's all part of the grooming process. Absolutely. Without truth, there is no definition of what it means to be a woman. Without this definition, there can be no women's rights. Without these rights, there can be no boundaries. Without boundaries, there can be no safety, dignity, privacy, or justice for any woman or girl in any space specifically designated for us. Let's continue to speak out and raise awareness so that women's rights can be fully restored. I just want to briefly thank Karen Davis of YouTube channel You're Kidding Right for sharing my story on her channel. I also want to thank Joey Bright of YouTube channel Can I Get a Witness Voices, and Kellie-Jay Keen for giving me a platform to tell my story. Thank you.
Can you just say your line one more time?
Which one?
Pinky promise.
Transgender ideology states that we women need to continue to allow men in our spaces to keep them from killing themselves. I guess that means they pinky swear not to kill themselves if they can see us undress or be around us when they whip it out.
Thank you so much. That's
You're welcome.
amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so we'll say it again, and I'll let you speak. Obviously, this is Let Women Speak, so that's it's on the tin. So, as a reminder, women don't have penises. There's no such thing as non-binary. No man has a vagina! And transitioning children is abuse! I feel it needs saying often. Okay, this event is called Let Women Speak, so I will let a woman speak. Wow.
Thank you. And thank you guys all for sticking it out for as long as we have through all the madness today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Come on.
We're not wussies.
They're going.
We are standing like women.
Absolutely, thank you.
So long, farewell,
Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
Yeah.
feel guilty that it's quiet. I'm going to try and make this quick before they make a comeback.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
All right. I'm going to read this because I can never memorize it. I'm not much of a public speaker. I was a girl. I am a woman, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, and an aunt. These words have meaning. When I was little, I too wanted to run in the yard with no shirt on as the boys and the sons and the brothers did, but I could not because I was a girl. I climbed trees, rode bikes, fished, built tree houses, played in the dirt, rode horses, danced, and sang. As a girl, I was constantly in trouble for talking too much. When I was pregnant with my first child, I learned that in this country in the early 2000s, we had one of the highest maternal morbidity and mortality rates of any other developed nation. The highest rates of medical intervention. One intervention leads to another, until birth becomes a system of medical experiments putting mother and baby at greater risk. This can be traced back over 600 years before we came across the Great Pond, when men pushed the midwives out and declared them witches, tortured them, executed them, and burned them all so that they could practice their medicine. They are still practicing their medicine. They're using women and children's bodies and minds in their experimental practices. The ideological capture of our medical, mental, and educational institutions has led us to a new wave of experiments. Experiments where our education system purposely drives a wedge between children and their parents. They tell them that we can't be trusted. They are just empowering them to be their authentic selves. They teach them to separate from us, whispering in their ears, convincing them that their parents, their mothers, are the enemy. Their mothers, the only person whose heartbeat they have ever heard from the inside. They prey on our vulnerable children, the intelligent, bright, artistic kids that aren't fitting in, the weird kids who are disassociating from their bodies and disassociating from their sex bodies from not being accepted by their peers. They praise the disassociation and love bomb them. By the time parents become aware, our children's names and pronouns have already been changed behind our backs. They've convinced our children to fight for their supposed emancipation. They've taught them the script, handed them the instructions under the guise of empowerment. Our children have already seemingly willingly signed up to be practiced and experimented on. They have taught the children to accept grown adults of the opposite sex into their same-sex spaces. The parents who stand up against this system face legions of enemies. Your child's teachers, school counselors, administrators, other parents, mental health care providers, and the entirety of the internet, and even their pediatrician, shouting at you that if you do not affirm and assist your child's disassociation, your child will kill themselves, and it will be your fault. The narrative then captures the parents believing affirming the disassociation is the best, most loving thing to do to save their child's lives. There are those of us who see through this. Parents saying no. Parents saying no to interventions that lead to interventions that lead to interventions. Mothers saying no. Be your smart, talented, bright, weird self. Cut your hair, change your clothes, climb trees, ride bikes, dance, sing. But do not let them convince you that there is anything wrong with you, that there is anything wrong with your body. The institutions know that they stand to profit billions of dollars off of these children. Parents, mothers, and women are again declared witches. This time we are called TERFs. They are not yet burning us, but they are silencing us. They are harassing, threatening our livelihood. They beat, crush our bones, take our children, and torture us. I am a woman. I am an adult human female, and I am still in trouble for talking too much. I am a mother and I am saying no. No child is born in the wrong body. No men in any women's or girls' private sex separated spaces. No. No is a complete sentence. You can abuse, beat, and torture me, attempt to force me into silence, but I will never stay silent. I will fight for women's liberation and children's safeguarding till my dying breath. Please repeat after me. Parents say no. Parents say no. Fathers say no. Fathers say no. Mothers say no. Mothers say no. Women say no. Women
will win. Thank you.
Do another addition, little amendment of your own.
Okay, just real quick, since I already spoke, I just want to convey a few messages about what the tone has been like out here and amend something I said earlier. There have been a ton of tourists here at the Lincoln Memorial today on this beautiful, beautiful day. And they saw what happened. They saw these people scream and chant and try to shout us down. I said earlier that the park police were here and were doing nothing. Then they did. I want to just make a point for women having future events like this. In the application process for the permit, there was a question, which was, do you anticipate any disruption of your event? I answered that question yes. And I had an interview with the permit people, and they asked me to explain it, and I did my best to do that. But the problem is, at that time, the park police didn't take this threat seriously because they didn't understand. They didn't know. Law enforcement generally does not understand what threats women are under all over the world, especially in the United States, but they're starting to. And so for women who are having future events of this nature, please do your best to make sure your local law enforcement or federal, as applies here, this is the U.S. Park Police, make sure they understand the level of threat. Show them video of previous events. And I do just also really want to commend the U.S. Park Police for really standing up and protecting women and girls here today. So thanks, everyone. Who else?
Something's happened over there, look. They're resisting. The reason I know is I saw the camera person leg it.
Jen?
My turn?
No. Just so everyone knows, it appears that the lunatics who despise us resisted against the park police. The U.S. Park Police are chasing them out of the grounds. They're literally on foot. The park police are chasing the lunatics off the grounds of the Lincoln Memorial. This is just stunning. Okay, Jen.
Over to Jen.
Kelly, can you do this?
Back to Jen in the studio. Sorry, I'm just mesmerised by your quick reporter mode. I'm going to put that right here, and you go here. Right here. Because you didn't talk in.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick. So yeah, I'm Jennifer Thomas. Thank you, Kellie-Jay, for creating this platform all over America so that we can all step up and say what we want to say. I've been all over the country and I talk to everybody. I love talking to people. So I ask, I say, hey, what do you think of that gender stuff? Right? I just say, I will literally talk to anyone. And about 2 years ago, it was iffy if I was going to get someone to, someone arguing with me. But the past 6 months, every time I ask people, hey, what do you think of Will Thomas, ruining women's sports? They're with us. They can't stand it. What it looks like on the ground is 90% of the people are with us. Tomorrow, we're going to see a sweep because people are, in the Pennsylvania legislature, there's a bunch of moms in there that are getting harassed by their school board. People are sick of this, and they're going to show how sick of it they are tomorrow. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we know the Democrats, they're lying. They're bought and paid for by the gender industry. The Republicans probably are too, but not as much. So that's really the deal. That's the deal right there. We don't know what to expect with the Republicans, but the Democrats, we know for certain that Biden has that EO and he wants to remove the rights and privacy of women and girls, and he wants to transition our children. So it's a no-brainer. Good luck tomorrow, and I'm glad I was here in D.C. so I get to say hi to Posie one more time, and I'll be in Philly on the 13th. So thank you, and thank you, Posie.
Well, you're very welcome.
Wow.
Our documentary film crews, all the journalists and everyone are running through the park. It was just left to old Journo Dansky with the Washington something Chronicle, I reckon, maybe with the Turf Chronicle or the Washington Turf to report on the incidents live as they were evolving. So who else would like to speak? Because you will be heard. I would love you to.
Oh, you've taken my shade.
That's for you to hold.
Okay.
And
So hold it this way.
this is the really important one because that's mine.
Oh, okay.
And that's Amy's.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Amy.
No, Jake.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joy Gray. I'm from near Washington, D.C. I'm a victim advocate, so that's originally why I started coming out to these events, because I went back to school and realized that there was no such thing as a women's room anymore, and that's very problematic for many women, and I had a Muslim woman tell me about this, and it just launched this path that led me to a motorcycle van trip across the United States, 21,000 miles plus traveled in 2021, primarily talking to people. So my message is for all women that if you feel disempowered, if you don't feel like you can come out to these events, even though I think every woman should that can, because they're fun, you can use your voice, you can meet amazing women, but even if you don't feel comfortable or you can't come out, talk. Never stop talking. You never know who you're going to reach. You never know what message is going to snowball from who you're speaking to. I found out that someone that I had spoken to just casually through a friend of a friend who wanted to know more information ended up passing on a lot of what I talked to her about to a sheriff that was in the town who talked to someone that was a lawmaker. So a lot of this is about giving people words, giving people showing the example of this is how we speak about these things in a really honestly neutral way, because personally I don't care what you believe. I just don't want to there's just no way that you can make me believe it. And when you come from it from that point of view, a lot of people are willing to listen to you. So while online it's super divisive, I really want to encourage you to go out in your community and talk to people, whether it's the gas station attendant or someone from your school board or a friend that you have, anyone. Just say how you feel, be honest, and be surprised with the results that you get from that, because I really think this is a solidarity movement between and among women. So never lose your voice, never stop using it, and thank you, KJK, for having me on.
You're very welcome. So nice to see you. Okay, who else would like to speak?
I could have one more shout out and then I'll shut up, but I don't have to.
It's just not enough, is it? Twice is not, come on. Twice is not enough.
I know, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Close it, Kara.
So I just want to give a quick shout out to our friend who is selling plastic water bottles here at the Lincoln Memorial. This man has been standing up for us. He's wearing a t-shirt that says Hogwarts alumni. He's been standing up talking about the importance of women's right to free speech. Kellie-Jay's trying to get him to address us.
Cook man. There, you need to be on cat.
That's kind of crazy. That's
you move
super
over.
wild.
You going to speak?
Yeah, I suppose so. You know, I saw, what was it, the women's, freedom of speech? I saw them giving going ahead holding a rally. We'll call them, I don't know what we'll call them. Some people came up trying to counter them for doing nothing, which was messed up. And, you know, I support the cause and just the fact they were already, people come bother them. And the police had no problem with this. But what the police do have, like as of right now, real time, the Fed just told me he was going to lock me up for selling water, and so he said he's giving me a break. He's giving me a break by not locking me up because I told him, hold up, chill out, man. He tried to rush a customer. He told her this was a crime to purchase water at the Lincoln. So, you know, we've been doing it. We still doing it. And I don't know, man. It's just like most things I feel like in this country, like by the time the majority of the country it's going to go on for some time. But when the majority of the country finds out about it, you read the history, that's the end of it. You know the history, so, you know, one cause to the next, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
We love your t-shirts. JK.
I got it from Target, that's the great, but they said, yeah, I heard about the reference.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, who's next? Normally we do like women last. Who wants to speak? Come on. You can do it. Thank you so much.
So I was out to dinner with a friend recently, and I was talking about the politics of some of this, and she said, well, I just don't agree with you with anything you're saying. And then she went on to say some things that inspired the writing of this pamphlet that was put out by the TERF Collective. And it's called People May Call You a TERF, because she proceeded to name all the things that we believe. And so I wrote, people may call you a TERF if you think women should get to keep their sports, if you think it's not fair for male-bodied people who identify as transgender to compete with women, with females in women's sports. If you care about women's safety, which she also said she did, and you believe that men should not be housed in women's prisons or allowed in women's locker rooms, restrooms, or other single-sex spaces. She also agreed that she's worried that non-transgender men could take advantage of transgender policies to enter women's spaces, to view or attempt to film women, or to commit other sex crimes or sexual assault. You may also be a TERF if you have concerns about transition or child transition. If you're concerned about making lifelong medical decisions for children that lead to sterility and they needing hormones the rest of their life, and also to sexual dysfunction. You may also be a TERF if you have concerns about lesbian and gay rights. If you feel that lesbian and gay men should be able to have a sexual preference for dating only people of the same biological sex. And finally, if you just believe in biological reality, you may be a TERF. You know that taking hormones and getting surgery does not change someone's biological sex, which is encoded in the DNA of every cell of their body. And you know that as mammals, we are sexually dimorphic, with real immutable biological differences between the sexes, stemming entirely from our distinct reproductive roles. I just want to thank everyone for being here. It took a lot of courage for everyone, and like Kellie-Jay says, we will win.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, I'll wrap up. Right, I can put myself in the center of my own lens. So we had an interesting day, I think it can be, it's fair to say. I thank each and every one of the deranged trans activists for coming. They help peak just a few more people every time they show up. I do genuinely, there's a real marked difference between the female so-called trans activists and the male trans activists, and the other people that turn up. There's a lot of females that champion these men, that talk more about trans women, so-called trans women, i.e. men, than they do about anybody else. Some of the men come dressed as women, but while some of those men just look like nasty, violent, horrible, just any excuse and they'll hit you men, there's always a particularly clinically insane young woman, and I don't mean that in some sort of hyperbole, nasty, vicious way of describing her, but I mean genuinely really troubled, very unhinged young women, and I think that there is a mental health crisis around this particular movement, and I think what it does is it sucks in some really vulnerable girls, and we have to, if for nothing else, we have to stop this so that those girls have a chance of healing and getting better. So we came here to say women don't have penises. I believe we said it. We came here to say there's no such thing as non-binary. I believe we also said that. I think we had a smattering of men don't have vaginas, and we definitely had transitioning children is abuse. We will continue to speak. I have talked to, and lefty women, you're not going to like this, and I'm going to say it anyway. I have talked to conservatives, lefty, and women who have no political affiliation. I'm telling you, the most difficult women to reach across the aisle are women on the left. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're giving up this fight to men on the right. So if you want women, particularly women on the left, but just plain old women, you know, the old-fashioned kind with vaginas, the real ones, if you want plain old women, us, our voices to be those that are heard above all else, then you have to support working across the aisle. You have to think first and foremost we are women. The things that divide us are secondary. First and foremost, we are women. Every time you castigate a woman for talking from the left to the right, for standing with other women, you basically hand this argument over to men on the right. And those men on the right, they don't have the same interests as we do. They don't want the same things for women as we do because they're just not women. So I personally am happy for anybody to speak up, but the people that should be charging this fight are those of us with the greatest risk, and that is women. This is our fight. Men, you can come along, but please, for God's sake, you walk behind. So I think we're doing a fine job here today. If you can put aside the differences and you can focus your eyes on the prize, then I promise we will win. If you can ensure that when you have an opportunity to come out, and the 13th of this month is Philadelphia, look on standingforwomen.com for events, for any information. If you want to donate to our documentary, which is going to be the story of women in this struggle, then it's standingforwomen.com/documentary. If you can put divisions aside, if you can just keep your eyes on the prize, if you can look at trans activists and laugh in their silly faces, I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose. Welcome to the cult. There we go. Oh, Jennifer's.